5:45 in the morning. Do you know where your streamer is? I am in Hong Kong, though only temporarily. I've got another 2.5, 3 hours here before I fly off to Sydney. I've just gotten off of a 13-hour flight, and I'm about as exhausted as I look. There's something so tiring about those long-haul flights. I was in and out of sleep. I got on the plane at 2 in the morning, so I was already tired. Got some sleep. I managed to play as much Zelda as I could before my Switch battery ran out. I finally got to plug it in. That game is good. I don't know if have you heard of this Legend of Zelda thing? Yeah, no, it's a good game. I'm gonna play some more on my second flight. That's right, back to back, 13-hour flight, Vancouver to Hong Kong, 9-hour flight, Hong Kong to Sydney. I will arrive in Sydney this evening, and then we're going to kick off the festivities. What am I doing here, you ask? Well, I'm waiting for a plane, but what am I going to Sydney for? GX Australia. It's an inclusive game conference. I believe this is the second year of GX Australia. There have been several Gamer X's in America. You might remember a couple of years ago I raised some money to take me to the one in San Diego? Yeah, I think that's where it is. That's what happens. You travel so much you forget where you've been or where you're going or where you're at. You lose your mind a little. I'm going to GX Australia. I was invited this year to be one of the bosses of honor, which is as cool as it sounds. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna be on a couple of panels. We're gonna do a signing. I'm gonna play some award-winning tabletop role-playing game, Dungeon World, with some fans, and I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I've never been to Australia before, and honestly, spending a Saturday and a Sunday and part of a Monday there doesn't mean I'm still not going to have gone to Australia. It's gonna be a quick in and out, and then we're headed back to Vancouver for Tuesday. So while I'm here, I'm gonna wander around the airport a little bit. I've got a couple hours still, and then, I don't know, maybe take a nap before my second flight. Anyway, that's about it for my check-in from Hong Kong. Next stop, Sydney, Australia. Hey everybody, I'm in Sydney, Australia. It's about 10 o'clock and I am so tired, but I'm so glad to be here. I am in my hotel room. The venue is a mere 10-minute walk away and my day is done. Now, I suppose, after all the traveling I've done today, I could go out, and walk around and enjoy the vicinity. It's not that late, right? But instead, my big plans for the evening are to download Mario Kart and fall asleep while it's downloading. Yes, that's right. I'm one of those exciting internet personalities you've heard so much about. I'm gonna take old Grandpa Koble, just to say me, take my old ass to bed. It's been a long day. Now, I'm no medical doctor or anything, so, you know, your mileage may vary, but going a full 24 hours and not getting any sleep, and then throwing traveling and other humans and not eating very well on top of that, don't do it. That's my medical advice to you as a non-medical professional. About GX Australia because I'm going to cram so much stuff into the next 2 days. I'm only in Australia for a few days, so I've got to make the whole weekend count as hard as I possibly can. I've got 3 panels that I'm on, and a game of Dungeon World to run, and plus AfterCon stuff, and I want to try to not be a total antisocial goon, so we're gonna give it a go. We'll see how it happens. My first panel is tomorrow at 2 p.m., so I have basically all morning just to like check things out, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, here we go. I'm going to bed. See you tomorrow. It's the end of the first day of GX Australia, and I had a really busy, really full day, despite only having a couple of things to do. The very first thing on my schedule today was a meet and greet. So right after the opening speeches and kind of ceremonies, I went right into that, and I got to meet a couple of real cool folks. And just kind of hang out and talk about RPGs. It's really nice being somewhere where I wouldn't normally get to interact with my fans directly, right? Australia is pretty far away from most of the like big cons that most broadcasters go to. So it was cool to be out here and to interact with and get to meet some people. And because it's a smaller con, getting to hang out and like talk for like a half hour instead of the more rushed feeling that we sometimes get at like a PAX or a Gen Con. So that was a good way to start the day. I had a panel right after that where we talked about building better gamers using game mechanisms. So, you know, for me, obviously talking about tabletop and about the ways that mechanisms of a game can encourage certain kinds of behavior and whether or not those behaviors can get carried from the game table into real life. I talked a little bit about, for example, like the way that games reward certain behaviors, how kind of murder hoboing became a thing because of the way that D&D is structured. And I talked a little bit about, and I've been thinking about this game a lot lately, I talked a little bit about Sagas of the Icelanders because I think that it's one of those games that really does something special with the mechanisms in the way that it encourages play. If you haven't already checked it out, definitely worth looking at if you're curious about the ways that behavior is modified by game mechanics. I mean, I think every role-playing game has an element of this, but Sagas is particularly strong in this regard. So I got to talk about that a little bit, and then just kind of like hang out, cruise the hall a little, try some games. I played a very like analog, kind of swan song feeling space simulator, like a space pilot simulator, and it was super fun. I think Objects in Space was the name of it. But what's really cool is it's got this kind of like DOSy looking kind of kludgy interface that the game plugs into any like Arduino output, and you can build your own terminal for it. You can build your own like system of control. So the one that I was playing with had buttons for everything, and it felt like Steel Battalion, but less giant robot and more like crappy space submarine. So that was pretty cool. I'll try to find a link and post it on the video. You can check it out. And then I managed to successfully, with some help from some friends, navigate the Sydney public transit system and take a 40-minute train ride out into Sydney proper. We're kind of out of the edge of things at the Olympic Park here, but riding the train into town because we were on a mission. A mission for ramen. Because I guarantee if you hang out with me long enough, I will drag you somewhere and make you eat Japanese noodles with me, because that's how I do. Tomorrow I've got a panel about tropes and stereotypes in games and how we can defeat them. I've got a 3-hour Dungeon World game, and then I've got a panel about Twitch broadcasting, which is the same panel that I did at PAX East. With Tanya DePass, and we have another guest. So that'll be super fun. I'm gonna miss having Brandon on that panel with me, because I've done that panel with Brandon before, UGR. But I think it'll still be super fun. So I'm gonna do that. Then there's the after party, and then sleep, wake up, train, plane, taxi cab, Vancouver home. We've got a busy couple of days. See if we can grab you some more footage tomorrow, and we will check out the last day of GX Australia. So the con's over, and today was the busiest of my 2 days. God, 2-day convention seems so remarkably short, especially held up against things like PAX West or Gen Con, which feel like they're 1,000 years long now. Today, I started the day, originally I was going to start with a panel at noon, but some folks here, there were a lot of photographers, people that I knew on Twitter and had exchanged like photos with and talked about photography, and so we organized a little like photography get together and just like hung out and took pictures, and so I've got a bunch of really cool pictures of some very rad queer nerds, and I'm super excited to edit them and post them up, so you'll get to see those eventually, but yeah, so I spent the first bit of the morning doing that, and then went right into my first panel, which was about tropes and stereotypes in games. I talked a lot about like NPC creation and about the ways that I try to avoid sort of stereotyping in games. It's actually something that's really challenging for me, creating NPCs that are not stereotypical, either to their sort of cultural stereotypes or to existing kind of stereotypes in the same sorts of fiction. And then I played a 3-hour kind of breakneck game of Dungeon World that was honestly mostly about trying to break up a cult of halfling drug fiends. We got stuck on this whole thing about how like halfling society was being ruined by like a peace cult. That was our euphemism for the like pipe leaf smoking obsessive kind of hippies. I did kind of like a Setite cultist, like save the mayor's son from the cult of the marijuana smoking halfling. Listen, this is what happens when you make games that encourage all the players to make up their own stuff. You end up in a place where things just get weird, and I'm okay with that. I had a good time. So we did that for 3 hours. Then I had my last panel, which is the same panel that I did with UGR and Tanya at PAX East about streaming safely. And mostly my part of that was like, you can't. That the internet is an unsafe place kind of inherently, and that the only thing you can do is reconstruct the community around you to be safer. Which I think we've all done a pretty good job of, so good work. Squad, you did it. You keep doing it. You're not done. I'm not done. None of us are. So yeah, I got to talk about that and community building and the kind of ways that we do moderating and rules in the communities that we are a part of. So that was fun. I got to do that lots. That's a thing I'll probably do again with Tanya. I know it's a panel that we've run together a few times, so that was nice. And then we did the after party, which I, of course, it's like 10:15 now, so you know, staying out late, being a cool kid. Yeah, there was an after party, and it was a good opportunity to kind of connect with people, but the most fun that I had was running a game of Action Castle. Sorry, Action Castle, because it's a great icebreaker game. You can play with as many people as you want. People can drop in and out, and yeah, the people of GX Australia did a great job. They did a fantastic job falling out of trees, not knowing how to catch fish, and all of the usual fun stuff that happens when you play Action Castle. Action Castle! So, I think people really appreciated having a kind of wind-down game to play, and I always like those Parsley games. Yeah, so that was that. It's late-ish, I guess. I'm gonna tidy up and pack and get ready to go. And then tomorrow, I'm out in the morning. I leave probably around 10 o'clock, and I'm going to be flying all day. I'll work on office hours sort of mid-flight, so I'm ready for what will be 2 days ahead for me. My whole trip takes 7, like, I don't want to say calendar hours. You don't measure a calendar in hours. 7 clock hours. I leave here at 2 p.m. and I arrive at home 7 p.m., but the space in between the two, or no, 9 p.m., the space in between the two is 25 hours. So time zones and chaos and fucking chronomancy. So I'll have lots of time to work on stuff and get ready for the show. We've got Court of Swords and office hours on Tuesday, just like usual. So it'll be nice to return to my schedule. This has been GX Australia 2017. I understand that they're not doing GX Australia anymore, but you know, I was so glad to be able to come out for this last year of the con. Yeah, so cool. I'm gonna go to bed. Well, I'm gonna go pack, and then I'm gonna go to bed. So that's it for me. Bye, everybody.